In this video, I am talking about how to protect a mother's milk supply, which most people are not even aware of, and like that's a thing and why it's important. So hopefully this video will give you a bit of insight into that. When a mother or a person is lactating, so their body is producing breast milk, there's something called the feedback inhibitor of lactation. It's an enzyme which sits in the body, and if it is not removed from the body regularly through breastfeeding or expressing or pumping, then what happens is that sends signals to the body to say, hey, don't worry about making any more milk because it's not being taken regularly and therefore it's not needed. In the first 4 to 6 weeks, and especially in the first few days, that feedback mechanism is really, really strong. So what we do know is that because we live in the society that we do and birth is heavily medicalized, is that a lot of babies are born perhaps sleepy or a little bit in shock with the way that they've entered the world, or perhaps they've got a bit of a crick in their neck. And there's also a lot of research coming out about folic acid versus folate, which has a direct impact on the development of a baby in utero and how that stems from the midline. So obviously it's really useful and great for protection against spina bifida and other major complications. But what they're discovering is that also has an impact on the frenulum, which I spoke about in a previous video. So the piece that holds the tongue anchors the tongue to the floor of the mouth. So with this in mind, and because of our culture, with us not seeing other people breastfeeding their babies and their children, we're just not as exposed to it. As a culture in the UK, we tend to really, really struggle with establishing breastfeeding. So if breastfeeding is important to you and something that you want to do, and perhaps there are initial challenges and troubleshooting that needs to happen, then it's really, really important that you are protecting your milk supply. So what that means is that if your baby is not managing to efficiently transfer the milk directly from you through breastfeeding, then it's important that you are expressing either by hand or by pump regularly, so at least every 3 hours, so that that feedback inhibitor of lactation enzyme doesn't kick in and reduce your supply. So often people will ask me, well, what about nighttime feeds? Perhaps a couple want to share feeding and perhaps give the baby a bottle in the evening so that mum can get a longer stretch of sleep. And that's all very well meaning and kind and thoughtful, but it's useful to be aware of that feedback inhibitor of lactation enzyme. And if it's not removed regularly, it will have a direct impact on the mother's milk supply. So some people will still choose to combination feed or give the baby express breast milk in a bottle so mum can have a sleep. And in those instances, what happens is that the mother will still wake up at the time that her baby is feeding, express for 20 minutes, and then go back to sleep. So to ensure that enzyme is being removed. Some families find that works for them. Some families think, oh, what's the point? I'll just get up and feed anyway. You find what works for you, but just be aware of that enzyme that can really impact on milk supply and establishing breastfeeding in those early days and weeks. So I hope that's been useful to you. And in the next video, I will talk to you about bottle feeding in a paced and responsive manner to ensure that your baby's breastfeeding reflexes are protected and supported in the event that your baby is being offered a bottle. So I'll speak to you soon.